Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Narrative Justice Podcast called See Us Podcast. I'm super excited about our guest today. As most of you know, some of you know that I am expecting myself, so my brain is just all things babies, birthing, and all in the like. So our guest today is very special, and she does amazing work, very interesting work that I don't think enough people know about. So when I sought her out, I was very thankful that she agreed to be on with us today. But we'll get more into that in a second. Before we get started, as always, we want to give honor, love, and respect for Leroy Powell. For those who don't know, Leroy in 2014 was a witness to an attempted murder turned infanticide. He was 15 years old at the time. And unfortunately, him doing what, the right thing and what we're supposed to do, he gave a witness statement. And our local news media decided that they were going to publish this 15-year-old boy and his mother completely exposed on the 11 o'clock news from the preliminary hearing. And from that moment, several days later, I'm sure no one is all that surprised, he was found dead himself, unfortunately. That was completely the fault of the media. Like, they did not take any consideration for the fact, first of all, he was a minor. He was not covered at all. No regard for his life or his mother's life, and his life was taken because of our local media. If that is not enough reason for us to remember that we should always hold media accountable, like life and death is in the power of the tongue. We know that biblically, and if we're not taking that seriously, of course, like as we see on a regular basis, people's lives are literally like taken from them. Lives are lifted up, lives are taken from us. So always hold media accountable, especially local media. Be cognizant when, news shows up in your community, pushing cameras in people's faces, asking a bunch of questions. You do not have to answer to them. They are not the authority of anything. If you feel uncomfortable, if you just don't feel like talking, or if you're curious or concerned about the way a journalist does their work, you can tell them no, or you can tell them you can get back to them. Keep that in mind. As a reminder, it only takes about 25% of the community for change to occur. So don't think that you need to have everybody on your side to start marching forward. If you notice that something is wrong, if you notice that something can be improved, if you see an opportunity to make life better for all of us, or the few of you, go ahead and do it. It can be you. It can be you and your cousin, you and your friend, you and your brother. You don't need everybody to be on board to make change. Ask me how I know. And as a reminder, the rent relief program is still going on. I'm thankful to announce that it actually is extended until next year. So it'll be running until, I believe, September 2022. Originally, it was set to end this month. But rent relief, because it's still wild out here, housing is still in crisis. COVID is still a very, very real thing. That the housing or the rent relief program will be continued into next year. The drop-in centers will remain open until June of this upcoming year, 2022. It's funny because I'm pregnant now and I breathe real heavy. Anyway, so as I was saying, the drop-in centers will remain open until June of next year. The Wellness Collective does have a drop-in center in McKeesport. So if you do need help applying for rent relief, the application can actually be found online. It's pretty easy to complete for the most part. You can find that at covidrentrelief.alleghenycounty.us. If you are having issues with doing your online application, if you need to, help with checking on your status of your application, if you don't have access to a computer, or just need help with, uploading the documents, you can find, go to any of the drop-in centers around Allegheny County. The one in McKeesport is ran by the Wellness Collective, which I am the founder of. Feel free to drop in with us Monday through Friday. Most days we're open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Thursdays, and this is important, Thursdays we're open from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. So if you show up at 11 a.m., we're not there. If you call Action Housing or if you call us fussing because the doors ain't open, it ain't gonna be open until 12 p.m. So remember that Thursdays, the time is a little later. At the drop-in center, you'll also find our food pantry and a little free store. So feel free to drop in. You can donate things if you'd like, or pick things up if you'd like. There's no real process. You can come in. You don't have to even engage in the rent relief program if you don't want or need to. You can just come in and check out what we have and take what you want, leave what you want. Is much appreciated. If you are leaving donations, we do ask that the things that you leave are in quality condition. So pretty much anything that you would not want or take yourself, don't leave that there for people. We treat each other with dignity and respect always. Last thing I'll say on that is the address is actually 335 Fifth Avenue, but 337, 335 are in the same building. McKeesport, PA. We're right next door to probation. So if you see probation, don't get freaked out. We're right next door. It's the door right next to it. It's kind of unassuming. So if you see probation, look to the left, and that's the door that we're in. All right, and so that'll be the last update I'll give before the show. We'll have a few more that I'll give after the show. So we'll get into our guest today. So our guest today is the lovely and beautiful Martinéa Goss. Martinéa has been a powerhouse of entrepreneurship for a number of years now. She's a very young lady, but do not take her age as anything besides it's just the number on her birth certificate, because the girl does her thing. And if you know her, you know of her, you know how serious she is, not only about her business, about her legacy, but also the quality of work and sharing that information out. She's been very resourceful to people in very casual ways and very intentional ways too. But today, because again, all things baby, right now, we are going to focus on her work with doula services, birthing services. And she has a company called Mudra of Life under her umbrella. And Martinéa, if I'm saying this incorrectly, please correct me, under her umbrella company, Powerhaüs. So I'm going to bring Martinéa up. And currently, she is doing the work. So as
I want blood flying everywhere, but hi.
Hello, beautiful. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on today. I am so excited to get into this conversation. Now, can you well, first, before I get into whatever's happening over there, can you tell us where you're from and how did you get into the work that you do?
Yes. So I am a Pittsburgh girl, even though I'm really a North Carolina girl. That's where my family is from. That's where I was born. That's where my roots go back to. I'm from Williamston, North Carolina. I've been in Pittsburgh most of my life. I started doing birth work specifically because I was pregnant with Benny and I had a doula and I loved her. She was great, but I could tell that she was, stressed with time. She was also in nursing school. So I just took an interest and wanted to figure it out exactly myself. And that's how I started my training. When I was about 9 months pregnant, I was literally just about to have Benny. I had enrolled in Best Doula. I started with the placenta encapsulation because I was really intrigued by that. I hadn't heard of it. So I was like, let me, start doing some research on what this placenta encapsulation is. And then that's how I came about to do stuff like this with stuff like this. And I love it. It's by far my favorite work that I do out of everything that I do. Like I could do a placenta 5 times a day and be happy. So, yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah.
And as far as where I'm from in Pittsburgh, I'm from Homewood. I claim it proudly. I'm from Susquehanna Street, 7202.
Hey.
So I love me some Homewood, and that's why a lot of the work that I do, it stems in Homewood. I do it with a lot of mothers who are single mothers in Homewood. A lot of my clients or from that area or from Lorimer or from the Hill District. So they're from a lot of the minority-based communities that I either grew up in or had friends that were in.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We love, of course, love Homewood, love everything that comes out of it. Homewood has a lot of history, a lot of roots, you know, like a lot of like what we were built on as Black folks from Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh, comes from Homewood. So very much love and respect for them. Although, you know, the north side is the best side, but you know, I love Homewood.
I love the north side too. It's where y'all, at least y'all got Allegheny General Hospital when y'all ain't got McGee. Listen, that's another story.
I saw a little bit of that, but I've heard some horror stories. I've heard some horror stories over time, but we'll get into that a little bit. So I'm very curious about whatever is happening over there. What's going on? What you doing over there?
So right now I just cut the umbilical cord, which I love. This people ask me what's my favorite part about this cutting the umbilical cord is because Benny didn't get an umbilical cord cut. I had a C-section. So they just took her out. They cut it themselves. You know, nobody from my family got to. So I love being able to cut this. So this is a umbilical cord. This is the baby's lifeline. And she had a very long umbilical cord. It's 2 pieces always. Sometimes 3, depending on how much of a genius your doctor is. And that is sarcasm. And then this is the placenta. It's like a little pot roast. This right here, membranes, we trim all of this off. So we cut all the membranes off. None of this will be here. We'll rinse this. You see where it's black? That's baby poop. That's meconium. So that's what I look for. I look for like the light spots where you see infarcts, but this is the best part. This is the prettiest part where you can see all the veins. It's like a tree of life, literally. So, yeah. This is the placenta.
Oh.
Beautiful shit. This is what your baby's in right now.
No, oh my goodness, it throws me off a little bit still.
I know. That's why once I was able to adopt the fact that to me it looks like meat and food, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. I season my meat every day. You know, I said I can do this. This is nothing. You just got to get past where it comes from and what it looks like now and know, you know, that it's created a beautiful life. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So to that point, the encapsulation, what is that for? What's the purpose of encapsulating the placenta?
So the purpose of encapsulation, it has a lot of benefits. None of them are scientific. I'm no doctor. I'm not even a midwife. So I don't say this to, you know, push it onto anybody. But some of the, I got to put on a long sleeve shirt. I don't wear my PPE all the time because I get hot flashes. You would think that I'm like 50 years old, but I'm not. I'm so young, but I get so hot so quick, but I'm going to have to put it on because she got a bloody mess over here. So some of the benefits from placenta encapsulation, when you have your baby, you instantly lose up to 2 liters of blood. And we're not made up of more than like 6 or 7, depending on how big the person is. So that's a lot of blood to lose so rapidly. So when you ingest your placenta, all it does is put those hormones right back in your body that just came out. So it can help with anemia because your iron's low. It can help with your sleeping because your iron is low. Put your oxytocin levels back in, progesterone levels back in. All of those levels are resumed once you start taking your encapsulation. So it can help with PPD, which is essentially the main thing of it. Postpartum depression is a very serious thing, especially amongst Black women, because we don't have the support that we need or that we deserve even. It's not even about what we need. Like, we just don't have the proper support. So not having the proper support, not having the proper nutrients, and then having a little baby that you got to take care of better than you take care of yourself, because this is sometimes your first baby and, you know, so many different factors that come into play with childbirth. You got to restore it somehow, some way. So I promote, you know, encapsulating your placenta and ingesting it. Have I done it? No, because unfortunately, I didn't know anybody who did it when I had Benny. But my next babies, I'm definitely doing it for myself. So I'm super excited to ingest them. And thus far, I've done over a dozen women in Pittsburgh easily. As far as placenta encapsulation, and I've only done one doula client. So I've only had one doula client because it's different. My placenta clients, I don't follow them throughout their pregnancy. My doula clients, I do. But since my time is restricted in a sense. I only had one doula client. I love the placenta though. Love it.
Gotcha. And that was I was, as you were talking about the benefits, I was thinking about does it have any impact on postpartum depression? Because it is a very real thing, and it's a thing. I hear more people talking about it more now, kind of in new ways, but for the longest, it was not, acknowledged. It wasn't even thought of as being a real thing. And we see women who are struggling in so many real ways, like after giving birth, like up to, I think it's like 2 years, or maybe even further than that. But if it's not understood that this woman just gave birth and lost, like physically lost so much, as you just said, on top of like you still have to do life. That women who need support and are displaying all of these symptoms of needing support because they're experiencing PPD are like I've seen way too often that they're kind of penalized and looked at as like there's something wrong with her, that she's wrong. It's like that's a woman that needs help, like, and that's not what's happening. So I was definitely thinking about that.
The unfortunate thing is also sometimes postpartum depression doesn't happen instantly, and that's what people don't understand. Like one of the things that we're trained on is not often speaking on our experiences to the client to not discourage them. But since this is an interview, I guess I can speak on it. My postpartum depression didn't kick in with Benny until she was really like developing her sense of personality. Like once Benny hit like 4 months, 3-4 months, it was like, okay, my baby's like a person now. Like, what the heck am I going to do? Like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know. Like, she's able to go places now. What am I going to do? Like, my life centered around her. And now it doesn't need to necessarily, because she has other people that she can go to and be with. And that the misconception of postpartum depression, like it happens as soon as you deliver the baby, is very inaccurate. And it's very unfortunate too, because it's something that can happen instantly. It can happen a year in, 2 years in, and it's also something that can last for an undeniable amount of time. Like it can be a week, 2 weeks, 2 years. People sometimes really don't bounce back from it. So, I'm not saying that ingesting your placenta is a cure-all, of course, but it is something that, not me personally, but I've took the classes on the people who have studied it, and they found that it, definitely helps with it extremely. So it's more of a holistic way, I tell people, than Western medicine. And I don't do Western medicine. You check my medicine kit. My boyfriend hates it. Ain't a lick of medicine up in there. Like it's herbs and it's elderberry and black seed oil and stuff like that. And I just am more on that side. I'd rather at least take this and know that nothing bad can happen, at least, from them ingesting this. And there's no bad side effects from you taking this. The only time that we worry is if the person has GBS. So that's the only time. And that is just an infection that mothers get. I just went blank. I can't even remember what the acronym is. But GBS is an infection that mothers get, and it can be transferred to the baby through breastfeeding and stuff like that. So that's the only time when we have a placenta, if the mother tests positive for that, which they test them right before childbirth to make sure. If they test positive for that, then we can't do the placenta, because in that case, the baby can have it returned back to them. Group B strep.
Okay. And that was GBS?
GBS, Group B strep, yes.
Okay.
So, that's one thing that there's a lot of studies on, breastfeeding and that returning to the baby after a while, and the baby can unfortunately pass away if it's exposed to that. So we don't allow for that to happen under any circumstances.
Gotcha. But that's the only threat.
The only threat. You can have gestational diabetes, you can have preeclampsia, you can have early term labor, you can have a freaking placenta rupture. You can have any issue under the sun. You can have a C-section, you can have vaginal, natural, epidural, you can have whatever under the sun. I can still do your placenta. The baby can poop, pee, fill up in the placenta, in the sac. It doesn't matter. We clean it out anyways. We steam them. So the only time we don't never let a doctor tell you otherwise. The only time we don't do it is if they test positive for GBS. Only time.
Gotcha. Like I've heard about, like all of my life, about people ingesting, like eating the placenta. Okay. And up until now, it's always sound like ew, like just not having anything outside of like Western medicine, like at least like for a long time in my life, like.
Right.
And very much now it's like, no, that's not the way to go. Like they're feeding us, it's killing us on a regular basis. But like all of my life, I've heard it. But it was always in context of a sort of joke or making fun of people or whatever. So it was always like a negative. And then the idea of it sounds gross. Like it just does sound.
Yeah. Before I started doing it, I was like, this is nasty. Like, what in the hell?
Right. But now, like as an adult and on this side of life, like, you know, having the ability, first of all, to learn on my own and not taking in and only consuming, you know, what comes out of public school or, you know, media and Western medicine, being able to move forward on your own and kind of learn about things on your own. Now it's like, oh, that's like, these are the only ways to go for me personally. Like I personally, I'm, if I can do anything about it, I'm not having my child in a hospital because no, it's not. It doesn't seem to be safe. Like, you know, the batting averages of doctors versus midwives, like the midwives have been, you know, whooping their tail all up and down, like since you know, the birth of us, right? Because we've been birthing babies like since babies were babies, and doctors have only been doctors for a amount of time. And so I know you work with hospitals, or at least that's my understanding is that you work with hospitals. Is that not what it is?
No, I don't work with hospitals at all. I actually hate all of them. I work with clients who go to hospitals. I work with them. I prefer for them not to, but some of them a lot of them miss their first baby, so they do. So I don't have any relationships. I don't have any connections with the hospital. And I think now that I'm at this stage and hating them so much, I'm trying to figure out a way to actually work with them and educate them, because they are so far gone and just so blinded by money that it's ridiculous. Like they are so blinded by money. It's so far gone. Like I was actually doing research on the cost for a cesarean opposed for the cost of a vaginal birth. And the cost of a cesarean is almost 4 to 5 times as much as a vaginal birth. And it's like, to date, every single mother whose placenta I have done has had a cesarean. Everyone. Like not one of them has had a vaginal birth. The one in Maryland, she had a C-section. The one today, she had a C-section. The one in November 1st, she had a C-section. The one last week, she had a C. Like each one has had a C-section. One girl had a C-section. They told her she couldn't take the placenta. I had to hurry up and get there and bust the door and say, give me the placenta. So each one has had a C-section. And each one of them has also been at mcgee, with the exception of the Maryland one. Mm-hmm. And with the exception of myself, which was at Forbes in Monroeville. So with me knowing what I know in regards to the money and in regards to the number of women, and all of these women are Black, it definitely strikes a chord. So that's why I don't work with them, because we ain't gonna see eye to eye, me in those hospitals. Yeah. You know, there are people who are so high up that unfortunately I can't even touch those people, you know. So I just focus on working with the clients and the mothers and making them feel comfortable and making sure that they know all of the ins and outs of everything that's going to be going on, or that they would want to be going on.
Okay. So I know there was a recent thing that I saw on Facebook with mcgee. Is it okay to talk about that?
Absolutely. I hate them. Yes.
So, you know, what's interesting, when I reached out to you, I've been wanting to do a show. I still want to pursue like doing shows on women, Black women specifically, in our experience in you know, the medical space, because we have so many horror stories, but I also recognize that these are horror stories, so it has to be approached a certain way. And when I saw your post about mcgee, now you didn't give a lot, but it was enough to say that, you know, there was a mishandling of a mother there. What happened with that?
So this particular situation, my client went into labor, and the numbers matter, time matters. So that's why I stress to everybody the times, and I'm very good with numbers. So I remember she went into labor about 7 p.m. one evening. About midnight, her mother texted me and she was like, hey, she's here. She's only about 4 centimeters dilated. They just broke her water. Now, that was my first red flag. Why is she 4 centimeters dilated and they're breaking her water? That is just something that shouldn't happen. Once you're 4 centimeters, you're still in the beginning. You could be home. Like you could be home in bed having contractions or bouncing on a ball. There's no need for them to break your water because that increases your chance of getting an infection. Anybody who's in the birthing industry should know that. Fast forward, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a text message. They took her back for a C-section. She had the baby. She was in labor for not even 12 hours. Like she was not even in active labor for 12 hours and they took her back to have a C-section. It infuriated me because not only did they say she has to get a C-section about 10 hours into her labor, she never dilated more than 5. She never went past 5 centimeters. They never gave her a shot at seeing if she could push through her labor or seeing if she could deliver the baby vaginally. They never just gave her them options. They came in, they told her, we feel like you're getting tired. Baby's heart rate is dropping every time you have a contraction. We think that it's best. Well, yeah, baby's heart rate is going to drop because y'all been giving her Pittsburgh for the last 7 hours. And the baby can't do it. So it's so frustrating because they take all the wrong steps to have the one thing that no woman wants to have. No woman wants to have a C-section at all. Like no matter how painful vaginal is, no matter how upsetting it is to get an epidural and long lasting the pain is, no woman wants to get a cesarean ever. So it's like, not only did they mishandle my patient, they also gave her all of the wrong information. They deprived her of taking her placenta, but then they turned around and told her, well, if you want to take your placenta, then you have to pay for it. So it's just like mcgee. I try to, like you said, because they are horror stories. So I do try to be cautious because I don't even know where you're delivering. You could be delivering at mcgee for all I know, and somebody who's watching, I know, but just said, somebody who's watching could be delivering. And I was born at mcgee. So let me just throw that out there, but at the time that I was born at mcgee, my grandmother was actually a nurse there and she, facilitated my entire labor. My mother was born there and same thing. My mother she was working there. So it was different. 30 years later, after my mom then had her baby and my nana then had all them babies that they had, it's very different at mcgee. And we got to just understand that is a birthing hospital. So they have women wrapped around the goddamn corner waiting to get into mcgee to one of their beds. And they know that all of them women wrapped around the goddamn corner, they might not have insurance. They might have insurance. They don't care. They're going to get paid regardless. And if you don't have insurance, they're getting paid even more. If you don't got insurance and you got to get a C-section, listen, that's they $100,000 off it right there. That's somebody's salary in 5 years from where we come from. So it's very unfortunate how they approach each situation that I've seen thus far. So yeah. That's how they mishandled the situation. They broke her water. They gave her the wrong medication too early, well, the right medication, but too early. And they took her back for a C-section about 6-7 hours after she first came in. And she wasn't even more than 5 centimeters dilated. Then they told her she couldn't take her placenta. But if you do, you got to pay a discharge fee. I wasn't feeling it. And I'm not feeling them.
How do you have to pay a fee for something that you made, like a part of your body?
Listen, I really couldn't even think of a reason that they would have for that. Like I was thinking, okay, maybe it's like when you go to a club and you bring a bottle and it's like you have a cork fee, but it's like that's like an extracurricular. Like this is my health. This is my body. This is my wellness. This is my baby. Like it's very discerning and it's very disregarding to the clients too, more than anything, because there are some people who have religious beliefs. Some people want to bury their placenta. Some people want to do lotus births, and they push that can't be done so heavily on mothers that it's disgusting. Like the client I'm speaking about, when she first decided she wanted to keep her placenta, she told them, and the doctor responded, well, I don't even know what placenta, I don't even know what that is. Like the doctor didn't know what placenta encapsulation was.
The doctor?
Yeah. And I lied to you not. My exact words to my client were, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not dealing like to her, like to the doctor, because if she doesn't know what placenta encapsulation is, I think the first step is we should find you another hospital to deliver at. And it's upsetting, very upsetting.
to say the least. Oh my goodness. And it's about because like mcgee is the birthing hospital. I was also born in mcgee, but not in Pittsburgh. I was born in Maryland. And it's interesting because Martinéa, you had said like, you know, like you were born in mcgee, but your grandmother was a nurse, your mother was a nurse, like, you know, and I'm thinking about if there was a shift from even when we were born, like again, like 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, to now, like if it switched to like now all of a sudden black women specifically, and I don't know if this also happens to white women because my experience has only been with black women. The stories I know are only of black women, but I'm gonna speak on black women specifically. If you became this kind of cash cow for hospitals, like that, you know, they're forcing cesareans on black women, because what I noticed, what was interesting on your post was, and I shared it into our group, on your post, a bunch of women saying the exact same thing. I was forced, you know, into getting a cesarean. And when I shared it, women also on there, I was forced into getting a cesarean, all at mcgee, all black women. A lot of thoughts on that. You know, I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of concerns. And what was even funnier is that mcgee had responded to your post.
It makes me so upset.
I was like, we could talk. Can you reach out to us? All right, so yeah, we're back. We had a little tech issue, so Martinéa had a little wardrobe change, so we're back in action. And so yeah, so as I was saying before our quick break, the post that you had made, it was interesting because you made the post, and a bunch of women started to comment and say that they've had the exact same or similar experiences at mcgee, Pittsburgh. Not only on your original post, but also in your post that I shared to our group. Women, again, there, black women, all at mcgee, saying that they were induced at like 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters. Like that is a very scary thing. And how far are you supposed to be before you're considered to be like, you know, birthing the baby? How many centimeters dilated?
So there's not, and that's why, like I say, I'm not a medical professional to like be like, oh, if they say they want to break your water at 3 centimeters, tell them no. There are different factors that they look at that we can't necessarily monitor because we are not medical professionals and we are not trained. So when they start talking about baby's heart rate, when they start talking about your heart rate, even if there is no dilation, then when it comes to health, the health of you and baby, sometimes you will have to get induced to speed up that labor process. However, if you are healthy, baby is healthy, there's no heart rate, signs of complications, no issues at all, and they're just basically timing it and timing you and your delivery, that's incorrect. That's wrong. And the best thing, if you don't have a doula, I would just say, listen, I'm not too far along dilated. Is there any way that I can wait until I'm at least 5 centimeters dilated once I'm halfway there? Because you want to get to 10. So at least once I'm at 5, it's like, okay, I made it to the halfway. I'm almost at the finish line. Now you can go ahead and break the water, because this is when my labor will start to increase. There are some, you can just feel it. And you can feel like, okay, like I'm ready to get induced to see if it'll speed it up. But if you're at 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, and they go and they give you Pitocin and speed up your labor, you're not going to get too far. You're just not going to get too far. You have to be a certain amount of dilated to even have the baby start budging. If you're that far, if you're that low in dilation and baby's not budging, baby's not ready to come. It's just that simple. Like the baby is not ready, and you have to be. You got to think for the baby at this point now. Sometimes the baby's not ready. Sometimes they just want to hurry up and get it out so they can get it out. Baby's not ready. If you're not a week past due date, I would say if you're not 5 centimeters, don't even go to the hospital. Once you get there and they check you and you're 4 centimeters, 3 centimeters, go back home, bounce it out, wait it out. Don't take Jamaican castor oil, but go home and just relax. Drink a glass of wine maybe. Do it with your boo. But wait until it's really time to have the baby, and 5 centimeters and below, you ain't ready to have a baby. That baby wants to sit right there and be mad at you when you get that Pitocin.
And what is Pitocin?
Pitocin is, they give you an IV, they hook it up to you, and it's little drops, like literally drops, like 1 drop, 2 drop, but it's a catalyst to speed up your delivery. Yeah. So that's when they start increasing the Pitocin. You might go in there and be at 2-3 centimeters dilated like I was, and it's like beautiful. It's like, oh, this is labor. This is it. Oh my gosh, I thought it was going to be painful. Pitocin, and then you're like, ah, like it's just like crazy. So Pitocin gives you your contractions because it makes the baby move down. It makes your vaginal wall open. It makes the baby start to break the barrier and break out of the sac. So that's what Pitocin does. Pitocin is the catalyst, and they can increase the amounts of Pitocin that they give you or give you less amounts of Pitocin, and they'll be like, okay, we're going to give you 1 drop of Pitocin, and you'll be like, okay, I'm still okay. But then they say, oh, we're going to give you 4 or 5 drops, and you're like, shit, this baby, hurry up and get on out of here. So Pitocin is a catalyst to speed it up.
Got you. And so, like, on your post, I noticed that mcgee had responded and was like, hey, we can talk, which I found that funny to me. But did you end up following up? Like, was there any conversation between you and mcgee at this point?
So at this point, I just want to be strategic in how I approach them. I need to get all of my ladies who have gone there and had issues. I need to get those issues documented. So once I have all of those documented, then yes, I am going to be going to them and bringing all of this to their attention. I didn't have a baby there. I didn't have a doula client who had a baby there. I've had placenta clients who've had babies there only. So I don't want to, in a sense, overstep or come incorrect, I should say. Not overstep, but I don't want to come incorrect. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to wait until I have all of my scenarios documented, and then, yeah.
Mm. And then are you only looking to document experience with women that you've helped, with their birth, as far as or just any woman? Anybody.
And I even... I'm just not even going for the bad experiences. I want to hear about what's going on with women at mcgee. Even if somebody feels that they had a good experience, I still would like to know about that experience, because an experience is an experience, but when you've never had that experience, you're not going to know what to compare it to or what it should be. So I'm open to hearing anybody's situation that they've had at mcgee, because some people think, oh yeah, I went to mcgee and it was great. They had me do X, Y, and Z, and I'll be listening and be like, they had you do what? They had who in there? They said you couldn't do what? You can't take a picture while you giving birth. You can't record you giving birth. What? They told you that? And it's like, oh, I thought that we wasn't allowed, or oh, I thought, like, nah. The reason they tell you, tangent, the reason that they say you cannot record and take videos and stuff like that when you're having a baby is because of medical malpractice. That's the only reason why. There is absolutely no right that says that you cannot do that. There's absolutely no law that says that you cannot do that. There's not HIPAA. It's not a HIPAA violation. You're the recorder. It's your baby. It's your pregnancy. It's your labor. They do that strictly for medical malpractice. If you catch something on video of them dropping the baby or cutting you or stitching you up wrong or saying something while the mother is out of it on lidocaine, then that's why they don't want you. That's why they don't want you to record.
Wow.
Literally, that's all it is.
So I guess we not only should be recording the police, we should record the doctors as well. All the time.
Yes. Because that's a whole nother topic, but they're responsible for a lot more deaths than these police officers.
That's a word. That's a whole conversation in and of itself.
Right. They are on the same unit.
So so if say a mother watches this video and starts to think about their own experience, wants to reach out, how could they contact you to share their story with you so that you can walk in with their story as well?
I'm a very personable person. I love saying that, personable person. So you can call me, you can text me, you can email me. I would like it to be documented so I can reference it. So the best thing right now would be to email me at info@penthouspgh.com, which I will try to text you so you can maybe put a link up or something. Okay. So yeah, they can email me it, even if they just want to like vent about it, or if they have specific questions about going there before they go there. They can call, text. Our contact information is on the website too. So yeah, I want to hear all the stories. Like I said, the good, the bad, the ugly, the unknown, the uncertain. Like if you're not sure if they were supposed to do this. I want to hear it all.
Mm. And to reiterate, that email address is info@penthousePGH.com, which we have here.
Yes.
And it's also on their website, which is Mudra of Life, or Mudra of Life. Excuse me. So that's MUDRAOF.LIFE. Awesome. So let's get back to the beautiful things that you do. And I definitely, before I move on, I definitely want to say that I appreciate your advocacy for our mothers and our women, because it definitely takes us speaking out on these experiences to stop them from happening. That's just what it is, like if things are not brought into the light, they continue to happen over and over and over again, affect people's lives. So I definitely appreciate that. So on to Mudra of Life. What is your service in totality? And also I'm curious about where the name came from.
So I'm a yogi first, but I'm the trap yogi. I make sure I emphasize the trap. I'm not your ordeal, yogi. You come to me, you might get love, but you might get some fire too. So with that being said, Mudra of Life is a yogic term, and Mudra means the giver, basically, the things of all things giving. So Mudra of Life, the giver of life, is where I came up with it. We learned different mudras in yoga, different Sanskrit terms and stuff like that. So I just wanted to keep everything cohesive under the same brand, and I was like, I love that name, so I went with Mudra of Life. Some people thought it was Mother of Life.
That was
like a slang mud. I don't know how they got that, but this is so beautiful, y'all. Oh my God. And I just want to show you one more time, because now it's dry, so I can show you. These are the veins, okay? This is what I was saying. Like, this is like the tree of life here, okay? That's the tree. And where it's goose, and that's where I cut the umbilical cord.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's just beautiful. She has big vessels.
Aww.
Healthy baby.
Yeah, I'm appreciating it more and more as I watch you in this process. So there's
no odor. It doesn't stink. It just literally, it's like a nice little roast. It has no smell at all. Trust me, I wouldn't be doing it if it had a smell. I got a weak stomach when it comes to that.
Oh, wow. So what is the process from start to finish to encapsulate placenta?
So I retrieve the placenta from the mom within 2 hours. I like to, after delivery, especially if they live in the city. I get it, take it home. I first disinfect my entire countertop area. So none of this setup is here. Like, I usually have all this stuff that's on top of my refrigerator here. But yes, I bleach everything, disinfect it, Clorox it, and then I bring out my dehydrator, which is right here. This is only for my placentas. I have a blender. I don't need the blender right now. I have my Chuck's pads. I laid them out. My knife. Everything is disposable. So everything I buy specifically for this mother. So these are the tongs, my filler, my capsules, my cutting board. All of this is disposable. My colander, I throw all of this away at the end. I get the placenta. I look at it for meconium, infarcts, calcium. Oh, here's calcium right here. So calcium is white. You guys won't be able to see it, but it's just little white. All of this white in here. That's calcium. That's not bad. It just means that the baby had a lot of protein. I rinse all of that off, thoroughly. Cut it up to separate the umbilical cord from the placenta. And then depending on which process the mother chooses, because there are two processes. One is traditional, which is steamed, and one is just regular, where they get it as is. And it has all of the hormones and everything just fresh on it. She wants hers fresh and as is. She doesn't want it steamed. She wants the full effect of it. So from there, I just rinse it off. I cut all the membrane off, which is what you see me trimming over here. This is the nasty fat. It's like gut. It's really slimy and nasty. So these are the membranes. All of that gets cut off, trimmed away. Your face is trimmed away. And then from there, I rinse it off again. And then I cut it up into a spiral. So this is a circle. I just cut it around the trim until I get into the middle, and it's just a long piece of like beef jerky. And then I cut it up into little pieces, little strips, lay it down on my dehydrator in here. It dehydrates for about 8 to 12 hours, depending on how thick it is. Once it's done dehydrating, it's dry like jerky. Throw it into a blender, blend it up. It's now ground, and then I put it into my capsules.
Wow. Okay. And then so how frequently does a mother take the capsules? Is it like one a day sort of thing?
Twice a day. So twice a day, but this mother is instructed to only take one a day because she has raw. She's not doing it. She's not doing steam. And the reason we do that is because we start with one because it can be a lot. It can be a lot of hormones. You just want to regulate what's going on with your body. She's also had a C-section, so she's still taking pain medication. So we just don't want too much going on at once in the mom. So with that said, she'll take one a day to start, and then she'll up her dosage as she sees fit. She also has a doula. So, yeah.
Awesome. Now, what's the difference between steam and then the natural placenta?
Steamed is a longer process, so it takes a little bit more of the placenta away. She got a lot of calcium. 1 second. So it takes a little. Oh, baby had to go, honey child. Oh Lord. So, the steam method, it takes like maybe 2 hours longer because we steam it. So we put it in a steamer, and it shrinks the size of it. So some moms might not get as many capsules. Each placenta should generate up to 200 capsules. So 100 to 200. Now the smallest placenta I've had like developed like maybe 70. And that was a recent placenta. That was a very small number of pills. But her baby was only about 5 pounds. You know, she had a smaller baby. So sometimes that happens.
Okay. And then are the health benefits, do they differ at all between the steamed and the natural, or is it really just come down to the process?
Steam just takes away a lot more of the hormones. So all of the hormones aren't going to be present when you steam it. We get rid of a lot of things. And we definitely recommend steaming for people who want to do lotus births. So when you do lotus births, you can, because that's another thing. I should have said that when I said the only time you can't get it is when you have GBS. If you have a lotus birth, you also cannot encapsulate your placenta depending on what herbs are used, because those herbs sometimes are hard to wash off the placenta, and they can be re-ingested by the mother, and they can dry up your milk. They can dry up your vaginal walls, which is very, very, very bad and challenging for a mother to heal if their vaginal walls are not moist, to say the least. So we are very cautious with people who have lotus births.
Okay. And I have no idea what a lotus birth is. What is that?
Oh, okay. So I love lotus births. A lotus birth, you're going to be freaked out by this too, Shannon. But it's when you keep the placenta attached to the baby for a long time until it dries out. So this lovely placenta, it stays attached to the cord, which stays attached to your baby. And then we put different herbs on it. So like lavender, rosemary, calendula, like different herbs that will dry it out a lot quicker. But it keeps the nutrients pumping to the baby. So as long as this is attached to the baby, like even now, as I'm pressing on this, her vessels are still producing blood. Like her blood is still moving in this placenta. So keeping it attached to the baby for a little bit longer sometimes has a lot of different health benefits, because baby doesn't come out automatically and seek the certain nutrients that they should. So lotus births are good, but what people do is they bury them in like a pot of soil. So you get a pot, soil, herbs, and you put it in there. Baby is attached to it, and they just move that way. Some people do it for 3 days. Some people do it for a week.
It's like you, baby, in pot, and baby in the pot.
It's like if you got to go grocery shopping, you got to take your pot with you. You know, you got the baby and you got the pot. You got to figure it out, so.
Oh wow, that's interesting. Oh wow, and it just falls off. Like, does it just fall off at some point, or do they eventually?
Yeah, it just dries off.
Hmm.
Yeah, it just dries off.
Oh wow, I've learned so much already.
Yeah, it dries right on off. It's easy too. It's quick. And like I said, it don't stink either. So.
Wow. So I know you do the encapsulation. You also do other things with placenta. What other services do you provide?
So in addition to the encapsulation, I also can do prints. Prints are when we paint over those veins and we make them very, very pretty into like a nice little. I'll get one and show it. And I also show one of the cords I just finished, my keepsakes. So I can do a keepsake also. If you don't want to ingest it, I can do a print for memorabilia purposes, or I can do a umbilical cord keepsake, which I'm going to do with hers too.
No.
So this is a print, and this is exactly what her placenta looked like. So this was where her cord was. This is all of her veins. These were the color of baby Lego's room, so that's why I did it this color. And then this is Lego's name, Lego. So she will, and this was her umbilical cord. So she will keep this, and this is for her little baby.
Oh wow.
That's for my Maryland client also. These are the capsules that I use. So I only use vegetarian capsules. Gelatin ones have different animal hormones and animal stuff in it that I don't use that. And I don't think anybody should ingest anything that's gelatin, just so you know. That doesn't just go for this.
You take it. So you have a Maryland client. So you do work with clients outside of Pittsburgh.
Yes, I do. Yes. And she's actually my first out-of-town client that I've had.
Oh. And is
so
it like
process?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said so it was a learning process as far as how to get the placenta to me and all of that.
And what's that process for an out-of-town? I know you said you wanted to get the placenta 2 hours after the birth, but obviously that can't happen from Pittsburgh to Maryland. So what does that look like for an out-of-town client?
So I like to get it within 2 hours because I like to have it done and I get really jittery. I like to, get my hands on it ASAP. And the fresher it is, the easier it is to deal with it. But we have up until 48 hours to get it. It just has to be frozen after the first 24. Okay. So I was expecting to get her placenta exactly 24 hours later, and we had the cooler and the freezer packs and everything. And unfortunately, due to the holidays, Thanksgiving was last Thursday. It just didn't work out that way. So she got a placenta print and her umbilical cord keepsake opposed to her capsules. And she had a very hefty placenta as well. So it made me sad because she would have had a lot of pills to take. But that's typically the process. We send everything out to them. They mail it back to us. We send them the shipping label and everything, and we overnight it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So then is it like regionally or is it across the U.S. that you can work with?
No, I can do it across the U.S. too. We just have to time everything better is what I've learned in this situation. So instead of me doing like express, making sure it's here by 8 p.m., I got to do express, like get it here in 2 hours just because I know that FedEx is going to be late. So I got to have it like express squared so they can get her on time. But I don't think I'll have any issues with them again now that I know what I know for the shipping.
Gotcha. Oh, wow. That's all exciting. Oh, it was the print. The print took me out. Like, I was, oh my goodness, the baby.
Yeah, her was nice.
Oh, that's so sweet. So your doula services are a part of Mudra of Life, right?
Correct. I'm just not accepting any doula clients right now because I don't have the time and I want to be able to give people the time. They deserve it.
Gotcha. Now, I noticed with myself, although I have a lot of doula friends, there's beautiful Black birth workers in Pittsburgh, but I did not fully understand what a doula, like the difference between a doula and a midwife. Can you tell us like what is a doula? What's the purpose of a doula?
Yes. So we're birth support. Birth, and we can check dilation. They can check fetal heart rate, mom's heart rate, blood pressure. They can facilitate a labor without a doctor. I am not a midwife. I cannot facilitate a labor without a doctor. I wouldn't even want to. So I'm here to support you, to advocate for you, to let you know your rights, to let them know that you know your rights. The one thing with me is, when you're my placenta client, I'm not there to monitor your whole labor. However, as soon as you go into labor, I'm there because I know what happens with these placentas, and I know that they don't want to give them to you. So at that point, I am your advocate. I am your main, arm for support, and I will be there from the moment you tell me that you're in active labor until 20 minutes after, because that's all they give you. Once you have the baby, they give me 20 minutes to take the placenta out, or they'll take it. They're very much so anuses, to say the least. They are so rude. It's not even funny, Shannon. Like, they literally, I was with one of my actual doula clients, and she was like, well, you have 20 minutes to get it out. So you got to hurry up. It's just like, they want me to leave this lady here, then y'all stitch her up. You want me to leave my client here so I can take the placenta out that y'all can't put in the cooler. It was just ridiculous. But yes, I do stay with my clients the whole time. So from the moment that you are delivering until you have the baby, I take the placenta, and it comes to me. But other than that, I'm just your advocate. I'm your support person. You call me and you're venting, or your child's father is making you upset, or your child's mother, depending on your situation. Call me. We'll be there. If one of your doctors is telling you can't do this, or you have to go into this, and you're not sure, I know all of that. We're trained on all of that. I know all of your rights and the laws that are centered around childbirth. So that's the biggest difference, is that I'm not medically trained to facilitate a labor.
Gotcha. Thank you for that clarification. So you were like me and had to find out on the fly. Now we all know. Amazing.
You're not the only one, Shannon, I promise.
That makes me feel better about myself. I just be out here. Well, again, I want to remind everybody of your website if they're looking to encapsulate, like myself. Mudra of Life is the website. So you can check her out there. Also, Martinea is very active on social media and such. And she also gives really, really great business advice. Like, this is not her first go round in business at all. Yeah, like I wanted, if in our last few minutes or so, I did want to touch on a little bit about just your journey as an entrepreneur, because you've done a lot of really great big things. And I just find it so fascinating. I try not to hold on the fact that you're so young, but you are young. so it's like, it's such a fascinating thing. It's so amazing to watch, like, just the evolution of all the things that you do. So I am, if you don't mind, talking about what got you into entrepreneurship, and then like this growth and expansion, and then the directions that you've gone in.
Absolutely. At first, Shannon, I got to give you your flowers. If you don't mind, can I just briefly, like really gently touch on our first interaction? Because I don't think you understand. Our first interaction, honestly, like genuinely shaped me into the businesswoman that I am today, because I was so used to being fair. I was so used to just going. And this is listen, we got to get this done. We got to do this. We got to do this. And when you listen, how you talk to people just ain't it. When you pull me, you were the first person to ever, like, listen, honey, I don't know who you usually deal with in your day-to-day life, but this ain't that, okay? And it honestly changed my entire way that I maneuvered my business. It made me more mindful and thoughtful of how I talk to people, what I said it, my tone, not exactly like you told me, not what I was saying, but how I was saying it. So I got to give you your flowers for that, because yes, I am to not toot my own horn, I'm a great businesswoman, and I'm a very successful businesswoman at this point. But if I would have kept going at the path that I was going and talking to people, and if you would have never pulled me aside and never been just, listen, I don't know what the hell is going on, but this ain't that, I probably would have kept going, and it probably would have just deterred me a lot sooner than what my success had came about. So I do want to thank you for that, because that was real, and you didn't have to do that. You could have just, you feel me, chucked me off and been like, I don't even want to deal with her no more, and then told X, Y, and Z don't deal with her, So I appreciate you for that. But when it comes to business, I started with Martinéa Studios. That was my first baby. And I started that because I was working at Spaces in Bakery Square. I had opened them up. It's a co-working office. And they let me use their space for free to do my fitness classes. I loved it. I started to get a great response. I got my first studio in Lawrenceville and I loved it. It was just too small. And the day after I signed for it, I found out I was pregnant. So I was like, okay, like, I'm 21. I've just got this new studio and I found out I was pregnant. I've only been in business at this point for a year. I didn't know what to do. So me being under that pressure definitely catapulted my business because I didn't have a choice. You know, I had a baby. I'm a single mother. And it just was like do or die. Like I had no choice. So my whole pregnancy, I just took classes, online classes, virtual classes to figure out how to expand my business. And I learned about the umbrella. And from Martinéa Studios, I realized I was working with a whole bunch of women. And then I had Mudra of Life, which is another service that works with women. And then I started to figure out people were liking to rent my studios because they looked nice. So that was venue studio rental. And then from studio rental goes to chair rental, tables, furniture, all of that. So I just took what I had. Literally, I took lemons and made lemonade. Literally, that's all I did. But I stayed passionate about it the whole time. And I never, even when I was close to failing or when I did fail, I never stopped. I just kept going. So that's a little bit about how, sorry, that's my boyfriend. I don't know why he's calling me. I was looking like, because his number's not saved in my business phone. I'm like, who is this calling me? So yeah, that's the bulk of how I got started with business. And it was the best decision that I ever made to become an entrepreneur, other than having Benny, because that was a decision. And I'm very thankful that I made that one. So besides having Benny, being an entrepreneur is the best decision that I've ever made.
Wow. Thank you first of all, thank you for sharing that. I had no idea that conversation we had such an impact.
And yeah. I went and told Nika, and I was like, Nika, this girl cussed me out, and I needed it. And Nika was like, what's she saying? I told Nika, and Nika was cracking up. She was like, well, that is you. That is you with that mouth of yours. She needed to get you in check. I said, she cussed me out, and I needed it so bad. I swear to God. So Nika Reed will tell you, I lied to you. No, I went right there, and I said, sis, I don't know why she talked to me like this. She said, you know why, and I know why. So yes, thank you.
That's so funny. I can say from my perspective, and before we even met, like I was already watching you because you were already doing your work. Like you were already this big presence before we even like met in person. And so, but also because I knew people that you worked with, and I saw you, like it's like this girl she a little sharp, she rough, she a little rough around the edges, but it's cool. She's young, she's doing, getting into her space. And the time that we had the conversation, and you were gracious enough to do the yoga classes in Northview for us, for our babies, which was beautiful, which was so dope, at the family center. And at the time it was that, and I was also, working through helping mediate like
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and it was super heavy, like these, kids from this community, and like they're kids in the sense that they were like teenagers. But young Black men in the streets or whatever, like it was so intense, and it was like this intensity from you, and I was like, "Hold up, sis! Like this can't be it!" Like, but it was like so dope. And then you followed up with me, I think later on that day, or the next day, whichever it was, and like we spoke from there, and it was such a beautiful thing. And then watching you, and again, like I watch everybody first of all, like, but just watching you and like just the way that you carried like this tempo of like you've had such a tempo of just growing in these really intentional ways, but these really big ways, in really purposeful ways has been beautiful. And you're so young, you're so young. It's like, oh, look at little sis doing her thing. Like I need to start taking notes. So when you share your business tips, I'd be like, I know that. I know that one. So
Thank you.
Absolutely. So that's great. And also like, sharing like what that has looked like for you. Because I know I cannot be the only one that's Like, how did she do that? Like, how is this girl moving like that? You know, I can't be the only one, like, you know, just wondering about the myth of Martinea, like just wondering about how you came to be and how you got to this point. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me too. I know who's been there. You know, I keep an eye. I watch everybody too. You know, so I know that you have. You know, you walk what you talk. So that is appreciated more than you know. Not even just with that, but like with the work that you do. I remember like you telling me verbatim, I'm stepping in front of guns. You know, I'm standing in between guns and people here, you know, and I remember when you told me that, I was like, hey, yeah, she's on a whole different, you know, she's on a whole different wave than what we're used to right now. So all the work that you've done from before I met you, because I met you when we met, it was around the time, no, it actually was when Antoine Rose had passed away? Yes. So when he was gunned down, that is when we had first had our interactions. And I know that you were doing work before then, because the work that you were doing then was so lucrative. So I could tell that you was doing work before then. So thank you. And thank you for just everything that you do with our community, other communities that I don't know about, that I'm not affiliated with. It's super dope. And until this day, I was just looking at pictures, because I still got the pictures from that class. Till this day, I have like maybe a handful of classes that I was in love with. Them kids, that was one of my favorite classes that I had did. Them kids was so turned. And usually kids, their attention span is so whatever. They loved me. They loved the class. And I was like, and those are the moments, because I don't teach anymore. I don't do yoga anymore. But those are the moments that make me really miss being an instructor, like those kids. So keep doing what you're doing too, and creating platforms like this, because we need it. Like, we need people like you. We need women like you, mothers like you. So just thank you for all of that.
Oh, big hearts. I'm so happy that we met in this.
Yes.
Beautiful. So is there, before we close up today, and I would want to thank you one more time for doing this show, because what you do is super important, informative, and I don't think anybody knows about placenta encapsulation outside of you, at least locally. So thank you for sharing that information and your resources. Is there anything else that you want to say for people to know, to allude to before we cut out today?
I just want to close it up with mothers, know your rights and know what you can and cannot do. And if you feel like something is wrong, ask them questions. Ask them as much as you need to ask them, because they literally can't lift a finger. They can't make a move until you give them the okay. That is one time in your life where you actually are in 100% control, 100%. So if you are a mother who has kids, wants to have kids, a mother to be, don't wait until you're 9 months to have these conversations with your doctor. Let your doctor know off rip. I remember every single appointment that I went to, I told my doctor my birth plan and my wishes for my pregnancy and my labor and delivery. So when he came on, he had to tell me that I had to have a C-section. It wasn't a conversation he even wanted to have, because he knew my wishes, because they were expressed to him throughout my entire pregnancy. So when he came to me to tell me, he down there had tears in his eyes, because he knew how much it meant to me to have vaginal. So you have to make sure that you create those relationships, you create those foundations with these people who are bringing your legacy. These aren't just babies that you take care of till they're 18, you send them out. These are our legacies. These are the next generation. This is what, we are fueling to the fire to make a better place for where we are. This is the narrative. They are the narrative. So you got to make sure that because from the moment that you conceive until the day you have them, until the day that baby unfortunately passes away, and hopefully it's after you do, it's like you are raising everything and more. That's a legacy. That's it. So you got to know what you're getting yourself into. You got to ask these people questions. You can't let them walk all over you, because if that's the case, that's the tone that you're setting for the rest of your life and your baby's life. And ain't nobody walking over none of my clients' babies. None of them. You feel me? So it's just know what you're getting yourself into. They tell you no, there's a million hospitals that's going to tell you yeah, or there's a million other hospitals that's going to at least explain to you why they might have said no when they didn't want to explain it, when they didn't feel the need to explain it. So get them explanations, ask them tough questions, Tell them to break it down in layman's terms, because they'll start using terms that you don't know and big words that make you feel like baby's doing this and baby doing that, when simply baby just doing acrobats is fine. You know, baby's okay. So you just be as vocal as we are on these Facebook pages about this, that, and the third that ain't got nothing to do with nothing in them labor and delivery rooms. And that's all I want to say. And if y'all need me, I'm here. I don't charge to talk to moms. Like I'm not money hungry. You can call me. You can text me any time of the day, any time of the night. If you're going into labor and your doula is gone for some reason and you just know of me through social media, don't be afraid to text me. I live up the street from all of the hospitals. I live right in the strip district. So I'm convenient. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to cuss the hospital out on your behalf too, because trust me, they will get that. And that's that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Martinea's email is info@penthousePGH.com. And her email, or her website, is Mudra of Life. So catch her there. Make sure you get your orders for your placenta encapsulations. You will hear from me very soon because I'm getting mine and I'm getting your print for our little baby. So thank you so much for all of your time being here with us today. I'm looking forward to all of the beautiful things you're going to continue to do. I can't wait to see how much you blossom and to see the Martinéa statue erected somewhere in the Pittsburgh area, maybe in Homewood.
Oh, Homewood, that would be a dream come true. Put it in Homewood.
That'd be lit.
Yes.
Thank you, beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Later.
I don't. Let's see.
My bad. My bad.
I don't know how to get here.
So that was my girl, Martinéa Goss, beautiful person, like a powerhouse of an entrepreneur, as her company alludes to. Does absolutely amazing work. So thank her very much for being here with us today, sharing all of that good resource. So if you are a mother, expecting mother, if you know someone who's expecting, especially Black women, and her services are not limited to Black women, but we also want to make sure that we are giving space and priority to Black women, because we know that we receive less than everybody else, everywhere else. So very much big ups to her and all of her work. I will be ordering my placenta encapsulations. I hope you will too. Make sure your baby's right and you're right. That'll end us for today. A reminder, today's news changing our narrative is going to air tomorrow, Monday at 7 p.m., as it does always. On Facebook is QK Productions. On YouTube is @BlackNews325. And Twitter is BlackNews325. As a reminder, one more time, the rent relief program will be going on extended until next year, September of 2022, I believe. The drop-in centers will remain open until June of next year, 2022. If you are interested in applying for rent relief and you don't necessarily know how to do it online, or don't have access, or just want to have a little bit additional support from somebody, you can check out any of the drop-in centers around Allegheny County. The Wellness Collective does run our drop-in center in McKeesport at 335 Fifth Avenue. I don't know why I don't change that. I'm gonna change that next time. 335 Fifth Avenue, McKeesport, PA 15132. We're right next door to probation. So if you see the probation office door, look to your left and that'll be us. Also inside of our drop-in center, you will find our little free store and our food pantry. So feel free to donate or take from at any point. You can come anytime that we're open. You don't really need to engage with the drop-in center if you don't need to. There's nothing to fill out or sign. Just go in and grab what you want and what you need. If you are donating things, we ask that the things that you're donating are in top quality condition. Otherwise, if you don't want it, if you don't want to take it, don't give it to nobody else. Let's make sure we're loving on each other and respecting each other the same way we want to be loved on and respected. The drop-in center is open Monday through Friday. On most days, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. On Thursdays, and this is important, on Thursdays, we're open 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. So don't come at 10 a.m. on Thursday. Don't come at 11:30. we ain't there. Don't call action. I ain't trying to get a phone call from them saying like, what's going on? We ain't open, bruh. Like, so make sure on Thursdays, if you're coming through, we're open a little bit later to accommodate different schedules. It's open 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. On every other day, it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that'll do it for us today. Thank you all for tuning in as always, and I am out.